Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Jason. I'm a librarian with the Sunnyvale Public Library. Tonight's program is going to be moderated by Silicon Valley Clean Energy. It's going to be a roundtable discussion from local residents. So I'm just going to give a really quick welcome on behalf of the library. This is the fifth in our speaker series that we're calling Electrify Your Life, which is a series we're doing in partnership with the city's Environmental Services Department, and it's supported by Silicon Valley Clean Energy Decarbonization Grant. And tonight's program's a little different than the other ones we've done. Environmental Services actually came up with the idea of doing the panel of local residents. That way you could learn from your neighbors and your peers the benefits of converting from gas to electric home appliances and some of the options and incentive programs out there. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Juliet and Julie from Silicon Valley Clean Energy.
Hi everyone, just sharing my screen really quick. Can everybody see this? All right, looks good. Well, yeah, I think Jason did a good intro, so we'll just move right along to our agenda for the day. Julia and I are going to introduce ourselves, the basics of Silicon Valley Clean Energy, and then we'll get into our panel discussion and go into audience questions. So, hi everyone, I'm Juliet. I'm a community outreach specialist at Silicon Valley Clean Energy. If you've been to a Sunnyvale community event, chances are you've seen the SVCE booth. I am always around and happy to talk about all these rebates, what SVCE is and what we do, and our customer offers. And I'll just kick it over to Julie to introduce herself.
Thank you, Juliet. My name is Julie, and I am the Community Outreach Fellow at SVCE. So I support with Juliet's outreach and tabling, as well as some other educational work, whatnot.
And yes, it is a requirement that your name is Julie or starts with Julie if you want to do outreach at SVCE. So I'll just get right into it. This is the member agencies for Silicon Valley Clean Energy. As we all know, this is a Sunnyvale-based program, but basically all the small towns and cities here in the county are part of Silicon Valley Clean Energy, and they all voted to buy their own power. So we are the agency that does that. And you can see the list there, and we'll also share the slides after if you're curious about any of the information. And Silicon Valley Clean Energy was formed to do this mission. We are aiming to reduce fossil fuel emissions for the service territory of all those small towns and cities that we serve, and provide customer programs that help us reduce emissions for our community. And we do this in a lot of different ways. The list that we have right here is a good summary of all the different ways that we achieve our mission. Of course, one of the main ones is providing the actual electricity to our customers. So being part of your electricity bill and doing the generation side of things, reinvesting in our community is a big part of what we do through our events, things like scholarships, sponsorships, all those things listed in that top bullet. Encouraging people to adopt electric technologies, and that's what we're going to be talking about a lot today with our panel of local Sunnyvale residents that have gone ahead and done this in their own homes. And of course, fighting climate change is the reason that we're doing all of this. And just a little bit about the SVCE impact is, these big numbers over here. So since we are a not-for-profit public agency, we've been able to provide just a small discount on our electricity service. So that small discount over time since 2017 has gone on to become $117 million in on-bill customer savings. So this year, 2024, we've been able to maintain a 4% discount. So that's how that number grows. And then we've dedicated over $116 million to customer programs, rebates, and all the things we'll talk about today. And this has resulted in a 23% reduction in energy-related emissions compared to our 2015 baseline. You see the link there for our community impact. That leads to really helpful, some really helpful pages to see our impact by community, how much in rebates we give out, and how many customers we serve. So you are interested in learning more about just the scope of SVCE and the numbers behind all of these things. And I recommend you check out that link. And the how it works slide. This is really just a breakdown of how we actually get on your electricity bill and how we get energy to you. So basically, we are buying and building energy supplies, which means that we do a lot of different things, but we buy energy on the wholesale energy market. We have power purchase agreements with things like large scale wind and solar, and other renewable or carbon-free sources. And that all becomes your electricity, and PG&E still brings that to you. So they're still part of the equation, but we took over for the source part, which is what PG&E used to do before we started. So since 2017, we have been on that part, the source or the generation part of the bill, and PG&E still brings you your bill, does all the delivery, they have all the power lines, and they charge for the other side, the maintenance, transmission, and things like that. So I think that brings us to the end of our rapid fire. Who is SVCE? And I will pass it over to Julie to talk about the goal for today.
Okay, caught myself, realized I was on mute. So the purpose of today is, as Jason summarized before, to bring a panel of your peers and other local residents to help support with any questions or thoughts or ideas that you might have about your home electrification journey. Whether it be that inspiration to inspire you to switch to an induction cooktop, or provide resources for you to be able to upgrade your home and navigate the electrification journey. Next slide. All right, so we have 4 lovely panelists with us today. I'll go through and introduce all of you. If you could just wave when I say your name. We have Scott H. with us, Crystal W., Jacqueline G., and Paul M. with us. So Jason, if you want to spotlight our panel now, we're going to move into the questions, if that makes an impact.
Yes, I just think I think I have 2.
Perfect. All right, next slide, Juliet. All right, so first question, this is to all of our panelists. So how about I'll start with Crystal. I see you're off mute. So Crystal, can you tell me, where are you on your home electrification journey? Are you just getting started? Are you on the way, or are you fully electric?
We are actually fully electric as of October of last year, and it was an awesome feeling.
Congrats. Yay. All right, moving it over to Paul. Paul, can you tell us where you are in your electrification journey?
Yes, I'm not quite as far along as Crystal. I've done everything except getting rid of my nasty natural gas furnace. So that'll be later this year, but I've done the induction cooktop, the heat pump water heater, have an electric vehicle. Everything else is electric, just that one last appliance I need to tackle.
Thank you for sharing. Jackie, can you tell us?
Hi, everyone. We, as of February, became an all-electric household. So our last purchase was a second electric vehicle.
Congrats. And finally, Scott.
Yeah, so I guess I'd say we are on the way. When we moved into our place, all of the kitchen and the laundry were already electric. But we had a 50-year-old furnace, which we replaced last year with an electric heat pump, which is awesome. But we do still have a gas water heater that we need to replace. And we also got a plug-in hybrid this year, so getting closer to electrification on the car, but not quite there yet either.
Thank you all for sharing. Next slide.
All right. So this question is really about, how have you benefited from going electric? Why did you do it? And really, yeah, what have been the positive aspects? It can be a long journey to do all these things, but what have you noticed has made your life better? And we can go ahead and start with Paul.
Mhm. Well, I think the major purpose of electrifying in my particular situation was to reduce our carbon emissions, get off of natural gas and gasoline and such. So that's been the major benefit. Of course, solar helps enormously with the economics of electrifying things. So it's a nice symbiosis between solar and electrification, and of course an electric vehicle as well, being able to pass by all the gasoline stations and use cheaper electricity as a way to power my transportation. So the economics is certainly an important component as well.
Absolutely. It's great that you can make the full use of your solar by going electric with all these other things. And then Scott, if you have a answer for this one.
Sure. So as I mentioned, we had a 50-year-old furnace in our home, which is also 50 years old, and no air conditioning whatsoever. So one of the most obvious ways we benefited is we now have air conditioning along with heating. That's the heat pump does both of those functions, which is pretty cool. And I also don't have to worry about 50-year-old furnace burning gas potentially. If there's carbon monoxide leak or who knows what, we don't have to worry about that anymore, which is really nice. Also now with the electric heat pump, we can have smart thermostats, so we can program it and do the shift of the usage, so you can take advantage of the cheaper rates when there's low demand and not use it as much when there's high demand. So that's been really nice. And then, as Paul mentioned, having the plug-in vehicle is really great when you can avoid using gas and you don't have to worry about the cost of that and just the nuisance of having to go there all the time.
Honestly, a little crazy that it was 50 years old. That I don't want to say impressive because this is about electric appliances,
Yeah, it was
but
amazing that
it's
it still
kind of
worked.
kind of crazy. Glad you made the switch though. We'll go to Crystal.
Yeah, so I want to echo what others have said. It's hard to answer how electrifying has most benefited because there's so many benefits. But I want to call out one that no one else has mentioned, which is when the air quality is bad outside, like on a smoky day, we can close our windows, run the heat pump, and it has a really good filter. And we also have an air quality sensor inside our home. So I've actually checked it, like when there's smoke, close the windows, turn on the heat pump, and within a half an hour, the air quality is back up to really excellent. So really just appreciate having that ability to close the windows, especially, even if it's super hot outside, we can have cool indoor air and good air quality. So I would just say the performance of the things that we switched to, whether it's our electric vehicles or the HVAC system or the water heater, and of course the induction cooking, all of those are just really excellent products. And so just having those upgrades in our home has really benefited us for comfort and convenience and just how our lives work.
That's great. It's important that the products are effective as well. So it's good that you've seen that. And then I'll pass it to Jackie to close out this question.
I mean, so many folks already touched on a lot of the benefits, but I also think just in general, I want to be a good steward of the planet, of my community, and do my part. And I think about my daughter who, what is the environment going to look like when she grows up, or hopefully my grandchildren. And I want to do my part now to make sure that we're taking care of our environment.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much. I'll pass it to Julie for this next question.
Right. Thank you, Juliet. So starting with Paul, what is your favorite electric appliance feature? Just pick one appliance and describe to us how it's benefited you, what it is that you most appreciate about it.
Okay, only one. If it's only one, I guess I'd have to say the electric vehicle. I just, love, as I mentioned before, being able to drive by all the gas stations. And I love the pep, the ability to use all the latest features and that sort of thing. So it's not an appliance per se, but I think my electric vehicle is the thing that I really enjoy the most. I mean, I love my water heater, my heat pump water heater, but it's kind of hard to feel the same way about a water heater as a nice shiny new electric vehicle.
I see what you mean.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And yeah, with it being electric, I mean, the ability to be able to update your software
Mhm.
regularly, or all the fun little features that come with it, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Paul. Moving on to Scott.
So I'll go with the heat pump again. My favorite feature is that it emits cold air in the summer, which is something we never had before. I mean, it sounds pretty basic, but it's kind of a game changer. And we experienced the same thing with like the air quality in 2020 before we had our heat pump. When there was COVID, we were all stuck inside, and there were all those terrible fires. It was awful, and it makes a big difference being able to close your windows and run it through the filter. So I'll echo that as well.
Absolutely. I think air conditioning is that's something that I've always dreamed of having. So I can only imagine how great that is. Moving on to Crystal.
Yeah, I also love our electric vehicles, but I'll say something different, which is I really love how easy it is to clean the induction cooktops. I mean, you just wipe it down, and we used to have a gas range, and cleaning those grates was terrible, especially, if you spilled something and had, the pot overflowing or whatever. It was super hard to clean. Now it's just wipe it down. So easy.
Yeah, I love that feature so much. Especially I feel like my gas stove gets clogged all the time too from things that fall in, and there's always little malfunctions going on. It's just so annoying, and the maintenance and the upkeep, it's just such a nightmare. So having that sleek induction cooktop must be very nice. And finally going on to Jackie.
It's hard to choose because I really like a lot of them. I agree with Scott that I also only used to have a furnace. It was really old. It was smelly every time I turned it on. And I'm always cold, and the winters were miserable because we had to control the heat because the bill was so expensive. And we have solar now, so I don't worry as much about using the AC in the summer or the heat in the winter because I know my bill is going to be stable. I don't have to worry about these crazy hikes and paying hundreds of dollars to just feel comfortable in my house. So that's really cool. But my favorite is we actually have a pool at our house. And when we moved in, the pool was freezing even in the summer. So I'd go in there maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And when we got the heat pump for the pool, it is a very nice, like in the 80s, super comfortable. My daughter wants to go in every single day, and we can actually use the pool because it's a warm temperature, and I don't have to feel guilty about, emissions and things like that because it's a clean source of energy.
That's amazing, especially now that we are officially in summer and things are going to be scorching. So having that pool, oh my gosh. Well, thank you all so much. I'll give it to Juliet. The next question.
All right. This one might be different for each of you. We talked a little bit before the panel started, and it's typically a years long kind of journey to convert your home to electric. But I'm not sure if any of you have gotten the chance to take advantage of our rebates. we see that more and more rebates have been coming out recently and haven't been available in previous years. But Jackie, if you want to go ahead and start, were you able to use any rebates or tax credits as you went through this process, and what were you able to take advantage of?
Yeah, not all of them were available, but certainly when I think when we obviously we had federal credits for our solar when we installed our solar. And I think that there was some for the electrical panel upgrade that we had to do, but I can't remember. And I know for sure we got a subsidy, which was quite large for the water heat pump. That almost fully paid for the unit and the installation. It was very little out of pocket. So that one was probably my favorite rebate because it covered almost all the costs. It was like a no-brainer to go to the water heat pump. I know now there are more rebates that are available. So I'm looking forward to other panelists talking about those.
Yeah, and we'll quickly go over at the end what's available from SVCE, and they do stack with other opportunities. There are other rebates, and then of course the federal tax credits. But I'll pass this to Crystal. And Crystal, I'm not sure if you took advantage of any of our rebates or other ones.
So actually, we didn't take advantage of any SVCE specific rebates because we did most of our work before the rebates were available, but we certainly use tax credits. I mean, even back to when we got solar in 2005, we were able to use federal tax credits for that. There was also a state advantage. And then for our HVAC system, there wasn't anything available at that time. Even federal tax credits were not available. That was 2018. And then, but we did use some federal tax credit for our water heater, which actually isn't a heat pump. So I highly recommend heat pumps, not what we did. But anyway, so we have solar thermal hot water. And so we're able to use federal tax credit for that, but not any local rebate.
Got it. And yeah, with all these appliances, we've tried to make it easier for people, but it is cool. One thing that is visible now, if you are looking at like a Home Depot website and your zip code is set to Sunnyvale or where you live in SVCE territory, you can see the rebates that you qualify for. So there are some things that are now making this more visible, but it is such a tricky process to know what's out there. And then Scott, were you able to did you get any rebates?
Yeah, so we
Okay.
got the benefit of the $2,000 federal tax credit for the heat pump installation. When we got the quote and got it all scheduled, the SVCE rebate, I guess, didn't exist yet. But then after installation, found out that it existed, but then our system didn't quite qualify. We were just slightly below the efficiency required for it. So I would just recommend anybody doing this, like, just make sure your contractor checks and double check with the SVCE to make sure that the system you're getting will qualify, because they're really good rebates. And like the system we would have gotten would be just ever so slightly different and probably perform exactly the same. So yeah, but we were happy with the $2,000 federal tax credit.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Scott. I think that other programs are like this, but for the most part, we ask that you reserve your rebate and then you do the work associated with the rebate. And then afterwards you claim it. So that's the SVCE process. And some people aren't aware of that, before they install anything. And they have to get it retroactively, but much easier to just apply, reserve it before you do any work. And then I'll close it out with Paul.
Yeah, actually used quite a few different types of rebates. Silicon Valley
Okay.
Clean Energy rebate for my heat pump water heater and electrical service panel. This was back in 2019, and I was part of the first group that was going through as a pilot. So very generous rebate, helped quite a lot there. The federal tax credits for the solar, also for my Bolt, which I just bought last year, got a $7,500 tax credit for getting the Bolt electric vehicle. Something I didn't mention before is that we put in insulation as well back in 2019. And Bayren has a very nice rebate. It was more than $2,000 for wall insulation and increased attic insulation. And finally, not a huge one, but for our rain barrels, where we collect about 500 gallons of water from rain, Valley Water has a rebate for rain barrels. So I've been using quite a few different types of rebates, and I'm looking forward to using the Silicon Valley Clean Energy one for my heat pump later this year.
Awesome. And yes, there are a lot of good other rebate programs. I know that Bayren, like you mentioned, that's the county or Area Regional Energy Network.
Yeah.
They have some really good energy efficiency rebates. So like you mentioned, the insulation, and then they have other things where you can work with kind of a home energy audit professional to get a home energy score, which could be a good first step if you're interested in going electric, but you want to see, you want to check out energy efficiency first. So yeah, glad you mentioned that. And then I think I will kick it back to Julie for this last question.
All right, so this is our final panel question. If you all have any advice that you want to share with someone who is just starting to electrify their home, now is the time. So I'll call you all off as I see you on my screen. So Paul, you want to start?
Yeah, a couple of different pieces of advice.
Mhm.
I think the first one I would have is if you're cooking with natural gas right now, I think I would really make an effort to try to get away from that because of the toxic pollution that is released when you cook inside your house with a product like natural gas. And it's actually pretty straightforward. For example, you can get for less than a couple of $100, typically for $120, $130, a portable induction stove that you can just put anywhere on a counter, plug into a 110 socket, and you're off and running. And that's a great way to reduce indoor air pollution. And the one other thing I would note is that before you get started, it's really good to have a plan, figuring out what appliances you're going to put in, what you're going to need as far as the electrical service panel upgrade, if necessary. There are many excellent ways to avoid having to upgrade your electrical service panel. In most cases, you can stick with a 100 amp panel. But it's really good to have a plan initially before you start, thinking through multiple years. In my particular case, for example, I put in a 3.15 kilowatt solar system back in 2019 and realized about 4 years later that I really needed more. So added 6 more panels. So if I had, really done all my analysis up front, I would have realized a larger system would be helpful with all the electrical appliances I would be bringing on, and really, killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So planning ahead is very effective.
Absolutely. And I see in the chat, Crystal also pointed out the SVCE Go Electric Advisor. So we're going to go over at the end some other resources that SVCE offers. But to add on to your planning advice, there are resources that are available to assist with that because, we're not expecting everyone to be an energy expert, but we have energy experts that can help out your journey. Thank you so much, Paul. Moving on to Scott.
Yeah, I guess the advice I'd give you is don't try not to get sticker shock at the price of the units because with the rebates and tax credits that you might qualify for, that price can come down significantly. So if you're looking online at the average installation cost of a heat pump system or a water heater or whatever, just keep in mind there could be like thousands of dollars that you should be subtracting from that number. So don't get sticker shock, and make sure you do your research onto all the rebates and tech credits are available for you, and then you should be good to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And SVCE, we offer up to $8,000 in rebates, depending on what type of project you're doing. And then, as Juliet mentioned before, our rebates stack with other rebate programs. And so there is quite a lot, there can be quite a lot of money to get back from your installation. So yeah, thank you for that. Crystal.
Yeah, one piece of advice is that I would recommend when you talk to contractors, you need to be clear upfront that you are on an electrification journey so that they're not trying to convince you to just, replace your gas water heater with gas, or even get a gas backup to your heat pump. There's you have to be pretty firm with the contractors to say, this is what I want. I want no gas in my house and electrifying everything. And if one particular contractor is not supporting that, then you can find a different one. So I think just being clear and shopping around to find exactly what you want. And I saw in the chat, that one person was being told that they have to upgrade their electric panel, and that's really a time to find a different contractor. And then I guess the other advice is use the resources that are out there. So Go Electric Advisor is one, and that can be for finding rebates, for finding contractors, and getting product advice. All of that kind of information is out there on the web through SVCE, through Switches On is another good one. Redwood Energy, I saw a link go into the chat about that. There's just a ton of resources out there, and if you're hearing something from your contractor, you can find a different one.
I'm really glad you pointed that out. Yeah, holding true to your electrification journey and making sure that you're finding someone who's going to support that and really help you in removing all gas. That's essential. And yeah, we do have a resource of a list of contractors that have gone through our training that is available. So there are avenues you can look into if that's an area you're struggling with, finding a good contractor. Thank you, Crystal. And finally, Jackie, same question.
I would say the same thing. Find a good contractor. And that is the hardest thing to do. We are very lucky that we have a friend who's a contractor, and they understood our journey, and they sort of helped us, and it made the process so much easier to have that. But also take advantage of all of the resources. We did so much research to figure out the type of products that we should get and the types of rebates we might be eligible for. And there really is lots of really good information, SCCE and the Switches On, and there's one other one the Bayren that was mentioned earlier. Those are all really good sites for information. And I think the other thing is pace yourself. It's going to take a while, and it is an investment up front, even though you do realize the savings later. So just, pace yourself. It took us about 4 years to get fully electric. And even that, I think, was a little aggressive. But, as long as you're making progress, that's great. Every appliance that you are able to change is gonna help you save money, and it's gonna be better for the environment.
Absolutely. And even as Paul pointed out earlier too, that there are other options. For example, if you can't replace or get an entire induction range and cooktop, there are portable induction cooktops that you can purchase and that work just as fine and are plug in with a regular socket. So absolutely, it can be daunting at first, But every little change matters. It has an impact for your health, for the environment, and eventually for your savings. So thank you for pointing that out, Jackie. All right. I think I take over from here. So next slide. Okay. And I want to thank all our panelists. Those are all the questions we have, but of course, we have some chat questions that we'll go over in just a moment. So we would love y'all's support with that. So hang tight. But I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about SVCE's resources and rebates. So SVCE's Future Fit Homes program, this is our suite of rebates that we offer. And so over on the left, you can see there's up to $8,000 worth of rebates to claim per project. And you can access these rebates by, you get a certain amount depending on what type of appliance you replaced and what it was before. So heat pump water heaters, if you're replacing a gas furnace, you get $2,000 from it. But if you have an electric system that you're replacing, the rebate's a little bit smaller. But this is just a portion of some of the rebates and incentives you can claim here. And if you go to the next slide, eHub is our online tool full of all of our resources in one place, including our Future Fit Homes program. So those rebates, you can find them at eHub. But this is just supposed to be a customer service that allows you to explore and learn a bit more about your electrification journey and help you with your next step. So some of the resources on there are EV Assistant to help you shop for other EVs and compare and contrast to find the right one that works for your needs. Our appliance assistant has a very detailed list or library of electric appliances, everything from heat pumps to induction stoves, and all sorts of fun tools and features there too that show you the amount in energy savings you can reap from it. It has its efficiency rating and score on there. So it's always fun to check that out. And then finally, the solar and battery assistant. That's a concierge service that helps you find the right solar panel and battery storage system for your home and your needs. And then finally, we were so excited this year to launch our Go Electric Advisor. This is our online concierge service. It is 100% free of cost, available to SVCE residents, Silicon Valley residents. And it offers an online chat service or call feature, which pairs you up with an energy expert. So you can ask all of your energy questions, get specific support depending on your needs and your project. And again, all completely free. And I think with that,
I think that does it.
yeah.